Hello my YouTube chums! A few months back I picked up this tired looking pretty basic beige office PC from the late 90s. I took it purely because it was a Packard Bell and it was the last thing on the shelf at an e-waste recycler's, but to be fair, it has ended up finding a solid place in my current retro PC stable, admittedly after upgrading it to within an inch of its life. Come take a look with me as I show you briefly how I beefed it up with a new graphics card, fantastic sound card, and a few other quality of life upgrades. Welcome to Bite Size Thoughts, my little channel where I deal you a piping hot slice of 90s PC nostalgia with a smattering of retro console content. Subscribe if you also love this era and want to watch more little vids like this. Okay, so starting off, a local e-waste recycler posted in our local vintage computer forum that he had a bunch of PCs on offer. So I popped down with my kids and picked up this case. I didn't know if it worked, but I thought I'd give it a go for $30 Australian. Plus, I do like Packard Bells, even these late 90s cheapo office towers for some godforsaken reason. I took it home and opened it up and it had the power supply, motherboard and processor, but no RAM or hard drive. It does have this quite nice slot load CD-ROM though, and the 3.5 floppy. Plugging it all back in and the motherboard wouldn't show any signs of life. So I swapped the PSU out of a spare P4 build in the basement, but still no luck. I thought maybe the power button might have been faulty, but I did get it to boot just the once. So probably an issue with the motherboard or the way that the CPU is fitted or something like that. Now luckily a couple of years ago I picked up a Pentium 3 motherboard, but have had it in storage ever since, so I thought I'd give it a go just to save some time. It's actually a later revision of the same gigabyte board and has an 800 MHz Pentium 3 processor, so it should be better in all respects. Still, no AGP port unfortunately, but that isn't too much of a problem as we will see. So I slammed that into the case and it posted straight away, so what a relief. Now I really like these IDE to SD adapters and I bought a new one for this build with a 64GB SD card. Installing Windows 98 was a breeze and copying chipset drivers and what have you to the SD card on my modern laptop was a piece of cake. And with Windows 98, USB support is decent and this motherboard has one USB at the back, further making it super simple to transfer over drivers and files. Okay, so now I have a smart looking case with a decent mid-range Pentium 3 installed, but with only onboard graphics which won't really be up to snuff playing the Unreal Tournament. I took this opportunity to give the PCI FX5500 card a shot. It's the cheapest chips, fairly decent PCI graphics card that has Windows 98 support and is touted by heaps of enthusiasts as a decent card to pop into a non-AGP compatible system. Thanks to Phil's Computer Lab for hosting drivers and recommending specific versions to get it up and running with a minimum of fuss. Now, this is a fairly decent PC at this stage, but I wanted to add a few more components to improve it still further. First off, I wanted to get away from the functional but basic onboard sound and get a card that will bring in something new to the table, something I don't have in any of my other computers. I plumped for an Aureal Vortex 2 card, the Montenegro. I've always had sound blasters or the old Ensoniq ESS cards previously, so have always been intrigued by the 3D positional sound capabilities pushed by Aureal. And yes, I can confirm that it does indeed sound quite impressive when using headphones, so very pleased with this addition. A further bonus is that the installer also installs DOS mode drivers too, so if I want, I can try out some real mode DOS gaming for any tricky games. I have one PCI slot left, so finally I caved and bought an 8MB Creative 3DFX Voodoo 2 card. Prices have been increasing like crazy and I've been holding back on paying what I think are wildly inflated prices. But I spotted an auction in the UK at a price that I didn't think was too exorbitant. I was slightly worried about whether it would work after being posted all the way here, as well as the overall cramped nature within this case. I doubt there is a lot of airflow in here, so I will be keeping an eye on the hardware to check for overheating. Fingers crossed that the innards of this PC don't melt down into molten slag whilst playing Half-Life during the peak of the Australian summer in my non-air conditioned bedroom. But in essence, that's actually the finished build. What's original? Well, just the case and that sticker on it with the original specs of the old Office Warrior. Everything else is replaced. The power supply, motherboard, storage, video cards, and the added graphics accelerator and sound card. Hope you all enjoyed that quick overview of this old Office PC and how it's been rejuvenated no end to be a decent enough 1999 to 2000 gaming piece. Pop in any comments about the particular components that I've used. If you have any suggestions on further upgrades, then I am all ears. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one, my friends.